Let's get it down on some paper. Let's tell somebody what's going on. All this work that we have done in forensics investigations for all these different these technical aspects will be washed away if we can't get the report written correctly. Now, what's not a part of what we talk about here for the EC Council certification is your ability to write and convey information in a compelling manner. If you are not a good writer, you know it. If you don't know it, write a couple of things that you care about. Write 20 pages worth of whatever you care about and review it a couple of times. Do some revisions on it, having nothing to do with technology, and then get somebody who is an English writer, a well-understood writer, well-respected writer, to look at your work and tell you what's wrong with it. They will help clean you up and tighten you up. Don't write about an investigative report. Just learn how to write if you don't know how to do it. It's one of the most important skills to convey to somebody else, written report when you're not there. And this is going to happen a lot if your evidence makes it to a court of law. Now, what you really want is such a compelling report done in such a clear fashion that when the two opposing sides get together before the trial and compare, that the other side says, let's settle, run away. We feel like we're going to lose, so let's just get this over with right now. We give in. That's what you want. So we're going to talk about the features of good reporting, the forensics template. We'll talk about a template of things that you're going to do, how you classify a report. And that is very important when it comes to taking your report from you to your attorney to the court and what's allowed and what's not allowed. The layout of the reports themselves, investigative report formats, the documentation that goes into your report, and then a little bit of best practices at the end. So what are the aspects of a good report? Let's take a look at this. Designed to help the judiciary come to a conclusion regarding the case. The judiciary is going to either be the judge themselves or it's going to be a jury. Convince them of what's going on. Help them come to a conclusion. Now remember, you're not trying to put your side out there. You're trying to be scientific so that when in that science they see so much evidence that, okay, we understand this is the amount of evidence, this is the mountain of evidence that we have to go through, and it's very clear and understandable to them exactly what's going on here in this case. Remember, you're a technician. You understand all the different acronyms in what you do, and they don't. So make it easy for them to understand. Show the answer for each question that may be raised. In other words, you may not be there. Your report may be there and say, okay, well, these are the things that they're going to ask, so I need to prepare. The attorney that is representing your side of the case will actually help you with this, but you should have your act together before you get there. Based on facts and findings on the evidence so that the jury can rely on conclusions of the report. So focus on the facts, just the facts, ma'am. Convey all the necessary information in a concise manner. They don't have a lot of time for you to be verbose and show them how smart you are. I'd love to get it down to bullet points, but sometimes that's not appropriate when you're dealing with these kind of formal reports. Structure it in a logical manner. The big thing here is consistency, that they know they can say, okay, I'm going to see this, I'm going to see that, I'm going to see this. Make it so that that pattern allows them to get into the flow of your report and get through it easily. At a minimum, your investigative report should have a summary, the objectives of the particular case at hand, the date and time of the incident and the incident reporting, the name of the people that were involved in it, the date the investigation was assigned and actually was performed, the nature of the claim of information provided for the investigators. They say, we were looking for this particular item. Location of the evidence and the list of the evidence that was collected are just a few things that you need to know about. You also have to say how you collected the evidence, how you preserved it, initiated your evaluation, your investigative techniques. All of this information needs to be in there. You are saying, this was my science experiment, this is how I performed it, and you can do the same thing that I did. You're going to analyze that evidence and report on the findings. You're going to try and be abstract. You're going to try and be concrete about it, but you're going to try and just stick with the facts. Support the expert opinion. Now, that's if you are an expert. That is if that is part of your job. The problem with this is are you an expert yet? Can you give your opinion that's outside the facts? And then any other supporting details that you can come up with. Now let's talk report classifications here just for a second, and then we'll dig into the details of each one. You've got to realize and consider your audience in your report writing. Who's going to be reading this? For instance, let's say before you get to court, you want to have a discussion with counsel for your side. You don't want to give them every single piece of evidence at that point. You want them to convey to you how they want the direction of the case to go. If you actually are an expert witness or may become an expert witness, that counselor is going to say, these are the key elements of the case that we want to prove. I don't care about that stuff over there. So let them direct. Well, then that first report that you're doing is kind of a first draft, a rough draft for them to look at and say, yeah, I don't want to highlight that information there. I don't want to highlight this information there. Now, here's the thing. Formal versus informal reports. The rules of evidence have changed a little bit over the past 5 or 6 years. It used to be that anything that you said to counsel was would be required to be a part of discovery. So whatever you said to them, they had to say to the opposing counsel. So what they used to do was they would hire 2 different forensics experts. They would have one that would do all the reporting and give all the damning evidence, and that person had nothing to do with the court. They said, just do the investigation on this, do the science on this, let me look at it, giving all the information. And then they would read that report, and then they would say, okay, here's the questions that we really need to have answered in the case. Strike out all the information there and then say, this is the list of topics other expert witness. These are the things that I want you to focus on. Now go do your discovery. So what they had to do is they had to pay double work. Well, legal profession wants to be efficient about this, so they changed the rules so that this informal report, oral or written, is really a little bit freer at this point, and they don't have to reveal this to the opposing counsel. We're going to look at these reports in the next section.